Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Witty's Gear Review. Today we're going to look at one individual tool, and this comes from one of our subscribers, one of our channel family members. In one of the comments, he had mentioned that it might be good for the the tiny first aid kit that I built for my wife. So I looked at it, got it, ordered it from Amazon. Thank you, Rye Guy. Appreciate it for the heads up and sending it to me in the comments. But once I got it, he was right. He had mentioned that it was kind of heavy. But I ordered it. I ended up going with something different for her bag. But then I got it and I kind of started looking at it, and I thought it was useful for a couple different reasons. So what it actually is it's the Bibury Keychain Rescue Multi-Tool. I guess that's the serial number, part number, whatever on the bottom. I was unsure of what I was going to do with it, and you can tell, I guess it was in a bigger box, and when they razor cut it cut my little box up. But anyways, when I got it, I was unsure what I was going to do with it. Then I started kind of going over it in detail, kind of some of the features on the back of the box here. Then I got to thinking to myself that, there is a purpose for this thing in several of my kits, and one of them was there's several things that this does in such a small package that I could actually replace stuff that's a little bit bigger, and I could take multiple things out of my bag and this would take their place. Let's get down close and personal so we can get a good look at it. Okay, as I said, this is a Bibury Keychain Rescue Multi-Tool. These things are on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. And they come in, right now there's a 10% off coupon. And shipped to my door, it ran around $21.42. I didn't think that was a bad price. If you don't have any Bibury tools and you're kind of concerned, I've got their main multi-tool. I've got another one of their multi-tools, and now I've got this. They are good tools. They hold up. I don't see anything out of the ordinary with those tools. And actually, I took my Leatherman Wave that I've had since I was in the military out of my pack and put a Bibury in there. And I really do like the tool, and I use it a lot. I take it with me camping, hunting, fishing, and I just like the tool. And for the $23 I think it cost, I'm not upset if I leave it behind or lose it or whatever. The Leatherman's been with me for a long time. It's my everyday go-to. But I don't want to ruin that tool because I've had it for a long time. If that makes any sense. Tools are tools that made to be used, but that one's got a little bit of sentimental value with it, so I've hung on to it. But out of the box, what we have in here is a couple spare razor blades, and these are sterile surgical blades. So you get a 2-pack. And then the tool itself. And I'm going to say that I do like the finish on the Bibury tools. They're just like a classic, kind of like an old Leatherman, the original Leathermans. It's kind of like that, just a plain, nice, sleek, nothing fancy, no laser cutouts or anything. It's just a nice, well-made, and you can see, the quality when you're looking at this thing. It's not cheaply made, even though for $21 it's not very expensive. But I just really like the way they make tools, and I like this, the sleek design. Now, this being an emergency tool, that's where things get interesting, right? Because it's not your normal, it doesn't have the normal functions of a multi-tool. So if you're thinking rescue tool in mind, that's kind of where we go. So if you open this up, you'll see that you have your standard, like paramedic shears. So it's got that part on there. So it doesn't, when you push up against somebody's skin, if you're trying to cut off a shirt or pair of pants or anything like that, you don't have to worry about gouging somebody's skin. And there's a small, if you could look at the handle, the bottom one is flat and the top has a slight curve so that you can use it flat to make your cuts or your incisions. But, you know, you can use these as standard scissors. There's nothing wrong with that, except you just don't have that fine point if you were trying to do some, you know, real small work. But it would work in any kit as a decent pair of backup scissors. And, you know, of course, like I said, they're calling that rescue scissors. But if you look, I mean, there's not a blemish in any of the machining. The grinds are nice. This is like, or this one, I don't know if we can pick it up. Yeah, you can kind of see. So it's got the regular grooves in it, like a pair of regular rescue scissors or, you know, surgical scissors. And then this blade is almost like a knife. It's super sharp. And then you can see the mechanism that they use here instead of like one of those coiled over springs. It just pushes on that little piece there. And it's got a real nice, it's spring loaded, or, you know, it springs back, but it's just got a nice feel to it, the way the scissors, the way it's designed, the way it fits in your hand. It kind of makes you want to cut stuff, and I'm not going to cut a whole bunch of stuff. But that being said, I mean, you can kind of see the craftsmanship. Now this tool, and I like how the handles are rounded over so you don't have no hot spots. Even if you put a really strong grip on there, nothing really gets you. But like a lot of tools, that's always a weak point. You've really got to watch when you're squeezing down on these things that you don't put your fat of your hand or your finger too close to that point, because it will get you. But all in all, you know, these things are really, there's probably a million different uses to this, but I thought, all right, if I could take my big scissors out of my bag, now I've got these, right? They're a lot more compact. It would be easy to fit them in a pouch, fit them in my first aid kit where I don't have the scissors on the outside. But then all the other tools are on the inside. So there's no tools, or I guess all the tools are on the outside. There's no tools on the inside. There's very few tools in this set. So that's your only way of cutting. It's got a, I believe it says on there, it's a 24. I guess you can't see that. Don't want to focus. There it is. 24 scalpel blade. And that's a pretty good blade. I mean, you could use that to cut stuff. You can definitely use it, I mean, to make an incision on your skin, skin an animal, whatever. I mean, it's a knife. It's a surgical steel blade, so it's going to hold up. The only thing is this just has a detent. You can kind of hear it snap into place. It's got a good little snap. But be careful when you're using this tool, especially with surgical steel. There's no lock on it. So I thought that was important. But these blades, like I said, you can take them off. There are different styles of blades that are in this same attachment fashion, so you could kind of change the blades if you wanted to. But you have that. And I'm going to shut this just because I'm trying to show you looking at my camera as opposed to the tool, and I don't want to cut my finger. And then you have the seatbelt cutter, which everybody should know. You can also use that to cut paracord, any cordage, rope cordage. You just don't want to use it on anything like speaker wire or any kind of copper wire or anything like that, because if you need this to cut your seatbelt, you probably don't want to dull it or make it dull. And that, I believe, are the only two tools on that side. So like I said, there's not a lot of tools. You've got this, you got the scalpel blade, and on your reverse side, you have a nice inlaid diamond file. You can see that. It's a really nice diamond file. It's got, you know, a little pattern on it, but it is a diamond carbide file that fits in there nice. And then you've got your box cutter, which is surprisingly super sharp. And the last thing you'll have is your glass break. It's just nothing but a pointed glass break. Now, the only drawback to the tool I see is none of those lock. They're all held in with like a detent. But if you had a scalpel type blade in your pack, you could take it out. If you had a emergency, you know, car emergency tool, you could take it out. Then you could take your scissors out, and if you had like a box cutter, anything like that with a file, you could take it out. And then that just leaves you the one tool that's fairly compact, but it is a little bit on the heavy side. So let's kind of look at the weight as a comparison. Let's take out our old Witty scale here. We're going to put it on, we'll put it on, not milliliters. Let's put it on ounces. And 0 or out. That thing weighs 5.5 ounces. Right? 5.4 ounces. If we were to do a comparison of a tool that's somewhat like size, this is just a SOG power pint, you're looking at 4.2. So, you know, it's a little heavier. And then if we were to rotate, I know some people like to see things in grams. Thing weighs 155 grams. As opposed to 119. So there is a weight difference. It is a heavy tool, but, you know, that could just mean that it's, you know, nice material. It's all, you know, a lot of it's stainless. You're definitely going to know it's in your pocket. You'll probably recognize if you don't have it. You'll be like, man, my pants are a little lighter. But, you know, compared to the SOG power pint, they're almost the same exact height. And they are the same thickness and the same width, except for at the front of the power pint. And that's probably where you get some of your weight, is if you look at the way the power pint's tapered. This is not. So that could be some of the weight. But then again, the power pint has a belt clip. This does not. Now, I do know that Bibury makes a belt clip that you could get for some of their multi-tools. I would imagine it would fit on this if you had to have a belt clip, which I like the fact of having a belt clip. You know, I don't have to, you know, clip this onto my belt, but it helps for putting it in like an EDC bag that has some elastic webbing. You can slide it in there. You can slide it to any kind of molly webbing, and you can store the tool nice and easy. This one, you would have to put it in, you know, in something. But yeah, anyways, so that's all there is about the Bibury tool, emergency tool. I just wanted to share it with y'all. And like I said, shout out the Rye guy for suggesting it. I do like the tool. I can find a use for it. What do y'all think? Would you rather have lightweight surgical shears as opposed to, or medical shears as opposed to this? Would you use a standard glass break emergency tool with a seatbelt cutter, and then you're carrying 2 tools as opposed to 1? What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. And like always, guys, do us a favor. Like, share, subscribe. Click all the notifications. Try to share us with everybody you can if you want to. Friends, enemies, in-laws, outlaws. We're trying to grow our channel. We're growing. Thank you to all of y'all that have helped us in that process. We do have memberships that we've started. Not pushing any. If you want to support the channel, by all means. If not, we still like having you here, and we're not going to treat you any different. Appreciate it, guys. Love y'all. See you on the next one.